In November of 1942, I was drafted into the United States Army. I was 37 years old. I had a wife, a young daughter, a life in New York City, and I did not want to go. I will be honest with you about that, because the honesty is part of the lesson. Other men told me that not wanting to serve was the act of a coward. I did not argue with them. I did not care what they called it. I knew what I wanted. I wanted out. They sent me to Camp Polk, Louisiana for basic training, and there, surrounded by 25 other men in the barracks, sleeping on an army cot 1,000 miles from home, I did the one thing I am going to teach you tonight. I slept in my own apartment. Not in my imagination as a daydream, not as a wish. I slept, actually fell asleep, in the assumption that I was already home, in my own bed, in my apartment on the 7th floor, overlooking Washington Square. And 9 days later, a colonel who had already stamped my request disapproved called me back into his office unasked and reversed his own decision. On the 15th of March, 1943, I was honorably discharged from the United States Army. Tonight I am going to show you exactly how I did it, because it is a method, a precise one, and it has carried more men and women into the life they wanted than any other single thing I have ever taught. Stay with me. First, let me tell you what actually happened, because the facts matter, and I want you to have them. When I was drafted, there was in fact a wartime policy. President Roosevelt had signed an order in December of 1942 affecting men who had reached the age of 38. There was, on paper, a lawful path by which an older man, already in the service, could apply for a discharge. So I did what you have to do in the world of Caesar. I made the normal, natural application, the ordinary way, through the proper channels. Within 24 hours it came back to me, one word stamped across it, disapproved, signed by my colonel, Theodore Bilbo, Jr., a perfectly decent man. He was not cruel. He simply looked at the situation and made a reasonable decision. My captain was kind about it. He said, "For your sake, Goddard, I am sorry. I know you want to be with your wife and your little girl." And then he told me he would actually be glad to go through the war with a man like me beside him. I said nothing, not one word to the captain, not one word to the colonel. I did not argue with the decision. That is the first thing I want you to notice. And it is the same thing I have taught you before. The verdict came down, and I declined to argue with it, because I knew something the verdict did not account for. The application had been disapproved in the world of Caesar. But the world of Caesar is not the cause, it is the effect, and I knew where the cause actually lived. So here is what I did that night, and here is the method exactly. I did not lie on the army cot as a soldier, hoping to go home. I lay down on the cot, and I refused the evidence of my senses entirely. I assumed I was in my own apartment, and I made it real, not vaguely, but in precise physical detail. Instead of the 25 men sleeping around me in the barracks, I felt my own bedroom. I felt my wife in her bed. I placed my little girl in her crib in the corner of the room. I did not picture these things from a distance, the way you would look at a photograph. I went through the apartment with my imaginary hands, and I touched things. I felt the objects. I looked through my window and saw Washington Square to the left and 6th Avenue to the right, exactly as they would be if I were truly standing there. I arranged the entire structure of my mind to match the life I wanted, rather than the life my senses reported. And then, this is the essential part, I fell asleep in that state. Not thinking about the apartment, being in it. I let the assumption of home become the final thing in my consciousness as I crossed over the threshold into sleep. That is the whole of the method. Lie down in the bed of the life you want, make it real to the inner senses, and fall asleep there, in the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. Now I want you to understand why the edge of sleep matters so much, because this is the part most people never grasp. There is a state you pass through every single night on your way down into sleep. A drowsy state, where the body is heavy and the mind is still. The senses have begun to release their grip on you. The outer world has gone quiet. In that state, and Scripture calls it a deep sleep that the Lord causes to fall upon a man, you are no longer defending the assumptions of your daytime life. The guard is down. The door to the deeper mind stands open. Whatever you carry through that door becomes the instruction. Whatever state you are genuinely occupying as you fall asleep descends to the deepest level of your being, and from that level it begins, quietly, to express itself as the world you later meet. This is why the man who lies in bed, reviewing his problems, wakes to more of them. He is impressing the deeper mind with the state of having problems, and it obeys. It always obeys. It does not judge whether the assumption is reasonable. It does not check whether the application has been approved by the colonel. It receives the state you sleep in, and it sets about making a world to match. I knew this, so I refused to fall asleep in the barracks. I fell asleep at home. At 4 o'clock that morning, something happened that I have never forgotten. A sheet of paper appeared before my inner eye, and a hand holding a pen, and the pen scratched out the word disapproved, and wrote above it in a bold script, approved. And then a voice spoke in the depth of my soul. It said, "That which I have done, I have done. Do nothing." So I did nothing. I want to be precise about what that means, because it is easily misunderstood. It does not mean I lay on my cot and waited for magic. It means I did not go back and reopen the case. I did not march to the colonel's office to plead. I did not strategize or pull strings or argue my position again. The inner work was complete, and I refused to undo it by anxiously meddling in the outer world. I simply walked for the next 9 days in the quiet assumption that the thing was already done. 9 days later, the colonel, the same man who had disapproved it, called me into his office. He told me to close the door. He told me to take a seat. I was a private. He had never once offered me a seat before. Then he gave me every reason in the world why I should remain in the army, and after each one he asked, "Do you still want to get out?" And each time I said, "Yes, sir." When he had exhausted his reasons, he said, "All right, bring me another application, and have your captain sign it." I did, and I was honorably discharged. He believed he had initiated it. He believed it was his own change of heart. And in the outer world it was. He played his part perfectly. But I had rearranged the structure of my mind, and the world, which has no power to remain different from the state you genuinely occupy, simply caught up. So here is the method, plainly, for you to use tonight. First, do not argue with the verdict. Whatever has been stamped disapproved in your life by a doctor, an employer, a bank, the reasonable voice in your own head, do not waste yourself fighting it on its own terms. You will not win that argument, and you do not need to. Second, choose the bed of the life you want. Tonight, as you lie down, do not lie in the bed your senses report. Lie in the bed that belongs to the life you have chosen. It need not look anything like your present surroundings. The scene is never the cause. The state you assume is the cause. Third, make it real to the inner senses. Feel a different sheet beneath your hand. Feel the weight of a different blanket. Sense the room arranged as it would be in the life you are claiming. Do not force it. Permit the feeling to form, and when it settles and holds its shape, you have entered the new state. And fourth, fall asleep there. Let that assumption be the last thing you are conscious of as you cross into sleep, not thought about, inhabited. Carry the feeling of the wish fulfilled through the open door, and let the deeper mind receive it as the truth from which it will now build. I did not run from the army. I was honorably discharged from it, by the lawful authority, signed and stamped, through the colonel's own hand. But the discharge was decided long before the colonel called me in. It was decided on a cot in Louisiana. the night I refused to sleep where my body lay, and slept instead in the apartment on Washington Square. The bed you lie in tonight, in imagination, becomes the ground on which you rise tomorrow, in fact. So choose it with care, and fall asleep at home.